He changed the direction of where black culture was going.
This is really an important part of our history.
This ain't Texas.
The album is rich with history, culture, symbolism.
Jet black, pitch black, darkness.
We have awarded the City of Toronto the 14th WNBA franchise.
I can't wait.
From politics to sports to entertainment and of course pop culture, many moments that mattered in 2024 were amplified by TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and X. Whether it was the latest Beyonce album or a stunning mural in Quebec City honoring almost 400 years of Black history, there were groundbreaking wins by stars like Ayo Edebiri, powerful political moments like Kamala Harris, and the expansion of the WNBA. Social media platforms became more than places for just memes and moodang. They ignited debates, they connected us, and they gave a wider voice to Black communities. We're going to dive into some of those moments, and we start with the interview that kicked it off, and in a lot of ways, defined the year.
You've made a safe place for the truth to be told.
Cat Williams' viral exchange with Shannon Sharpe sparked conversations from Diddy to Drake. You could say it had a lot of us talking. But was he just spreading rumors or revealing truths? I don't think anyone expected this interview to kind of shake the world the way it did. Why did that happen?
Cat Williams shows up in January, no less, the very beginning of the year. He was not rehearsed. He just kind of sat down and he said, "Shannon, I got some stuff to say." He takes a shot at anyone from Kevin Hart to Dave Chappelle, Kanye, Joe Rogan, Tyler Perry, Steve Harvey. There was a moment where he allegedly says, Cedric the Entertainer allegedly stole one of his jokes.
Nobody knows why liars lie. And that's why I had to come on the program.
He just said his entire unvarnished opinion on these people. On Diddy, he said all lies will be exposed.
It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is, TG Jakes, any of them, all lies will be exposed. That's all.
Nobody is really safe in that Cat Williams interview. But what it kind of does is sets a tone for the year, because there's something about the way that the Kendrick and Drake feud have played out in 2024 that to me feels directly related to the way that Cat Williams was talking about earlier this year.
Exterminate them right now. Make Cat Williams and them proud. The truth about to get loud.
Because it sets a tone of saying, I'm not just gonna allude to the fact that I don't like you. I'm gonna go number one with a song about all the things that I think you're doing to the culture.
They not like us. They not like us.
It sets a sort of lean forward posture to the expression of disdain. I think like if you're watching celebrity culture, you sometimes like walk away with an impression of being like, all these celebrities seem to like each other for the most part, or if they don't, like they like to put on a face. And we got Cat Williams to disrupt that. For a moment, it set the tone for other people to say, maybe I can disrupt that. I think like there's a level of intensity to the thing that he created, to the thing that Cat Williams created, that is kind of filtered through black culture in a meaningful way.
Does this kind of speak to podcasters? I mean, specifically Black podcasters as well, having more sway over what we're focused on, what we're talking about, what the conversation is?
No one would say Club Shay Shay is the standout among, like this sort of particular ecosystem. But what it does is it sort of solidifies the space and says, actually, the conversations that are being had on Black podcasts about Black business, about Black matters, this is where you go to pay attention to the latest in these conversations. And he kind of sets it up as almost like a separate ecosystem that is kind of existing parallel to, the regular entertainment and celebrity ecosystem. It gives us something new to pay attention to. And how is this space going to evolve outside of the corporate white gaze? I think that matters. It's allowed to be its own thing. And in one instance at least, is going to lead to Cat Williams sitting down on a couch with a drink in front of him and saying, let me speak some truth.
The truth is the light.
Looseness is key to how you get a moment like that. But also, that exists very specifically in a Black-only space.
After that, I don't really kind of know where to go. Let me, one more time.
I think that's what's exciting about it, is it just kind of felt like, oh, this is the arrival of this separate space.
I need 5 minutes to process.
Yo, peace everybody. The moment that matters for me is the inauguration of the mural Hommage aux Afro-Québécois.
This mural, we've been working on it for years now. It pays respect to African Quebecois in Quebec City.
From public art as a powerful tool for storytelling, like this mural in Quebec City honoring almost 400 years of Black presence in the region.
All of these people contributed to life in Quebec. To me, this is an important part of our history which is not acknowledged.
To Kamala Harris. We saw what she meant to Black women in politics, in leadership positions, and young girls looking up to her.
We saw coalitions of youth from across the United States and the globe rally around one of the most unexpected campaigns of our generation.
But how did discussions on social media spark conversations around representation in leadership and future generations?
I think her run is a journey not just, a Black woman in leadership, but what it signaled to little Black girls and other Black leaders around the world is a road that was paved with her candidacy. And it really opened up the doors and opened up the eyes of opportunities for other individuals to say, I can step into that space.
Figures like Kamala Harris and Shirley Chisholm, who was actually the first Black woman to run for presidency, demonstrate that there is space for us even when the pathways tell us otherwise.
To see a woman, a Black woman, running for the highest office in the United States.
Do we believe in the promise of America?
We don't acknowledge in this election is just the fact that the timeline was so short. We have a Black woman leader running for the highest office in the land, and what's the support? I think there needs to be more consideration around the long game for support for women and specifically Black women.
This was a presidential election that was based a lot in the connection of those candidates with social media, popular culture.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
We're talking about Kamala Harris as a Black woman and the younger candidate. How much did that help or inhibit her? Things like Kamala is brat. How much did that have a positive or negative effect in her eventual run?
So when she came out of the gate, I felt it was too safe. You have to somewhat be a disruptor. You have to somewhat change the narrative. One of the things I loved was the Saturday Night Live. Did you see the Saturday Night Live skit? Yeah. I thought that was brilliant.
We know each other so well, we even finish each other's belief in the promise of America.
It shows that, she's able to laugh at herself. The challenge of being a Black woman, a leader, and having to straddle so many different lines, making sure we don't fumble, sometimes causes us to not represent in the way authentically as we should.
Did that presidential run in the United States have any tangible effects on the possibility of a Black person, a Black woman running for high office in Canada, prime minister role in Canada?
If you look at our representation, we do have, great women, Black women leaders. Certainly none to the highest office, but we do have Black women leaders in Parliament. There's room for improvements. Where I draw inspiration, I look at people like Marianne Chad, Canadian first Black woman publisher in Canada. I look at inspirations like that. That's what we have to do. We have to look to the leadership and the women that have made it, that have done well, and look at the obstacles and how they overcame those obstacles and instill that in the next generation. We have to fight.
The fight for representation doesn't stop with Kamala Harris. It extends to the whole beauty industry, where standards have long excluded Black people. In 2024, makeup became a battleground for inclusivity. Let's take a look at how social media, Black beauty advocates, and consumers are pushing for change.
Euphoria's date night foundation in the shade 600 was literally jet black, pitch black, darkness.
I'm gonna apply some of the foundation on this side of my face so you guys can see. Let's just go ahead and try to blend this out, you guys. Enough. Who is that color?
I understand that brands want to expand their shade ranges to be more inclusive, but you need to do your consultation work as a brand before you do that. There's so many nuances and undertones and complexities in the complexions of Black and brown people that you can't just simply say, I'm just gonna make a dark shade and call it a day.
When Beyonce dropped Cowboy Carter, it wasn't just another album. It became a cultural moment. Social media exploded, and TikTok took the celebration to new heights.
You may have heard about Cowboy Carter. Texas Hold'em made her the first Black woman to top the Billboard's country music chart. That is major.
This ain't Texas. Ain't no hold 'em. So lay your cards down, 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 down.
Cowboy Carter, Beyonce, kicked up debates about who belongs in that country space, in that genre. What made it so astounding or revolutionary for someone who was born in Texas to make a country album?
I'm often fascinated by the arc of Beyonce's career, because Beyonce is someone who started out as a regular pop artist. For the last 4 albums, 5 albums, at least let's say 4 albums, Beyonce has largely been a conceptual artist who's interested in some experimentation. And then you get to Cowboy Carter. Like, this is an album that is like the roots and the seeds of all American music, not just black music, not just pop. All American music, including country music, including the blues, they're all black. And she's unearthing that.
The album is rich with history, culture, symbolism. It sparked deep discussions about the roots of country music, black identity, and justice.
And she's interested in slightly, I think, disrupting the very solid notions that we all have of what country music is. I think that's why you get the reaction that you get from the country music establishment.
But I do think that there's maybe some prejudice even within the black community that, like, if you're listening to country music, like, your head gets a little tilted there. Does this maybe change that in the future? Are black people able to celebrate country more?
First of all, Jackson Weaver, one thing that you should tell the people, look directly at that camera over there and tell the people, you play the banjo and you don't talk about this nearly enough. I would like to see you out here in these streets with your banjo. I interviewed Rhiannon Giddens, and one of the things I talked to her about was about this relationship that black people have to country music. Why do we say, that music is not for us? And she sort of gave this thesis that I think about all the time, which is that, like, country music can be nostalgic music. And black people, I think, like, naturally are not nostalgic people. We don't sort of
understandably, maybe.
Understandably. We don't look at the past and go like, yes, back then it was better, you know? We kind of go like, what's in the future? What can we hope for? For that reason, you can kind of understand why there's like a bit of a separation between black people and country music. I think what's crucial to all of this is that at no point have black people been absent from country music. I think like one of the greatest country music albums ever made is Ray Charles making a country music album.
And I can hardly speak.
It's an incredible album that like we should think of as also our heritage. Beyonce is a wrecking ball through this entire sort of facade of the idea that country music doesn't also belong to black people, because she's a Southern black woman. She's like, what are you talking about? Of course this music belongs to us. I want to revisit the 10-year anniversary of Cowboy Carter and see how country music has changed, because my hope is there's a lot more black artists who are saying, you know what, Beyonce said this belongs to me too, so I'm here to claim my rightful heritage.
I am honored to officially announce that we have awarded the City of Toronto the 14th WNBA franchise.
The WNBA's expansion into Canada was a move that sparked excitement and hope.
Young girls who love the sport, who want to compete and play at the next level, would finally have an avenue to do so while staying at home.
It was a win for the future of women's sports, especially for the black community. Fans went wild across social media, and the buzz kept growing.
As a black woman, I think it's also important that we speak to the representation aspect of this. Imagine a young black girl who's playing this game, having fun with it, and seeing women dominating at this sport, excelling at this sport, and getting paid well who look like her. It takes this dream and this game to something that can be a true reality.
Let's explore what this means for both the league and its supporters. We're literally here now. Canada, the WNBA is expanding.
Yeah.
When you heard the news, I'm imagining you heard it a little bit before everyone else, but when you heard the news, what did it mean?
When I caught wind of it, I was like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? I was super excited for the next generation coming up after me, because they actually have something to now kind of watch on TV. I think with my generation, we had the dream, and we just heard it through the highlights and on YouTube and things like that. So we didn't actually get to watch the games growing up. We didn't have the channels. But now now, I think I'm really excited for the next generation to kind of just see that and have that representation on TV and see, hey, this can be me.
2024, I think, had a lot of people more excited about this league than ever before.
Yeah.
Break it down for me. Why was this getting so much attention, spotlight, and interest?
This is about the players. I think the players put their personalities on display, and the platform and the media attention we're taking full advantage. And I think that's what's really helping us gain that momentum, and it's only up from here.
So when we're looking at the WNBA expanding, we see Black women rising to the fore of our conversations. Some of those names, Dejanay Carrington, Brittany Griner, and Angel Reese, who spoke about racism that they've experienced being in the league. As the league expands to Canada, is that a risk that we should be wary of? And what should we do to support or protect or keep that attitude and those assumptions away from those athletes?
I feel like we, as a community, Toronto is one of the most diverse cities in the world. I think it's an important topic and conversation to keep at the forefront, because we are diverse. The team should be made up of people who reflect the city, you know what I'm saying? So I think that conversation, it may be uncomfortable to some people, to the front offices, to the league, whatever it is, but I do think that it's an important conversation to keep bringing up and honestly, just rise above whatever uncomfortability that people feel around racism or any passive-aggressive comments or things like that. And I think the players really stand. WNBA has a great reputation of making sure that they're speaking up and standing on business when it comes to racism and those topics.
I think that there is such a connection between basketball and now the WNBA and Black culture.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, do you also see that? Is there that connection? Is there that?
Of course, we are the culture. We create the trends. We are that Black magic, that Black girl magic. And I think as soon as people start to, us Black women, we start to believe that, and we really start to lean into that, our power, I think it's going to go on to the next generation.
And what would you say to a young Canadian girl who wants to get into the league, who wants to enter that space?
Work hard. Work hard. Drive your own lane and make sure that you create your own destiny. I really see the future of women's basketball just growing. More opportunities, more leagues, more teams, and I do really see there's so much more young girls playing basketball.
Edmonton hosted a preseason game in May 2024. It sold out. You were at the preseason game in Toronto the previous year. What did that mean for Canadian women and girls?
I was at the game, and I honestly did not want the game to end. And the energy that was in that gym, it was more than basketball. It was representation. It was young Black girls, young kids seeing players on the floor that represented them. And it was such a great time in the city, and I think we've lived on that high since that game. And that game was a milestone in Canada women's basketball. That game was important when it came to representation. Having young girls in attendance, young Black girls especially in attendance, see that representation live, being able to engage with players, coaches, people around the league, because at the end of the day, the next generation is the next one's up.
Where do you see basketball in the future?
We are becoming a basketball country. I think women's basketball is definitely at the forefront right now, and this is our time for allies to support, for men to support, to show up for us and support us. Toronto is such a diverse city. It's a great chance to have that representation in front office, in coaching, in players. It's super important for Toronto Tempo to show up and reflect the city that it represents, from all the way from the C-suite down to the players, and engage with the community, because that's who's going to be supporting. So I think it's super important for them to be diverse.
Another groundbreaking achievement came at the Paralympics. Folashade Olufemi-Ayo's historic win for Nigeria in powerlifting, breaking her own world record, wasn't just inspiring. For some Canadians, it was personal.
It was an affirmation that Black people can reach highest levels of success, Black disabled people rather, on a global stage. Black disabled voices are often muted within the community. Disability is not a limitation. It is rather a different kind of power.
For others, breaking records is equal to breaking barriers, like the ones Ayo Adebri is bringing down in Hollywood.
She swept the award season competition, taking home a Critics' Choice Award, a Golden Globe, an Emmy, and a Screen Actors Guild Award. I don't even know what all of those are, but she's got every single one on her shelf.
Let's dive into how she's not just owning the screen, but redefining what it means to be a rising star.
She's the people's princess, man. First of all, we begin with that kind of acknowledgement. Io is kind of the perfect marriage of someone who's incredibly good at their job. She's such a great actor. And also, her approach to showing up outside of that job is, I can't believe this is happening to me either, you know? And there's something about that posture that is just so endlessly charming, that makes her so endlessly watchable.
Io is proof to people everywhere, and Black Canadians, including myself, that you can take an unconventional path to success. If you recall, she started by studying writing, and now here she is, comedian, actress, and writer, all on the silver screen.
It's not the point of feminism. You also don't care about feminism.
She was in a fantastic movie, Bottoms, directed by Canadian Emma Seligman. Yeah. Is it too much to say that the excitement around that blackface of an American person might permeate to the Canadian sphere? And do we need kind of like more reinforcement of Black talent, Black faces in Canadian TV and movies?
First of all, the answer to that is always yes. 100% is always yes, you know? But also, it helps to have someone that famous be in a Canadian movie, or to be in a movie that is directed by a Canadian person. I think like there's something about her star power that makes these things feel possible, right? Like that's the exciting thing about someone like Io. And there's something about like rooting yourself in a place and appearing as yourself and appearing as a real person, as opposed to appearing as someone who's trying to morph themselves into whatever Hollywood eventually expects you to be. That feels a little insurgent, you know what I mean? Like it feels a little like that's unexpected, and to me, like that's where the electricity is. It's what Io makes possible.
In 2024, social media wasn't just shaping the conversation. It was driving the moments that mattered to Black Canadians. Which moments will matter in 2025?
We are becoming a basketball country. Women's basketball is definitely at the forefront right now.
It literally does not matter what Io does next. I'm seated, I'm there. I want to see where they go next.
So I think there needs to be a strong call to action around how we support women leaders and how we support Black leaders, especially women.
It's an album that is also forcing conversation. What I want to see is like, what happens 10 years and see how country music has changed, how it has responded.
And look at the obstacles and how they overcame and instill that in the next generation. We have to fight. We have to continue to fight. We cannot give up.
This is our time.
We'll have to wait and see.